Listen to me. Every single day is a classroom. Life doesn't care if you graduated, dropped out, or never even touched a textbook. Life is handing out lessons daily. And the ones who win, the ones who grow, they're the ones who show up every day ready to learn. You want to be successful? You want to rise above your situation? Then you need to educate yourself every single day. I'm not talking about waiting for a school bell. I'm not talking about a degree on a wall. I'm talking about relentless daily self-investment. Feed your mind like your life depends on it. Eat your mind like your life depends on. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, life is handing out lessons. Some of them are subtle, like a quiet correction when you mess up. Some are loud, like a hard fall that hurts more than your pride. But the fact remains, life is a daily classroom, and the bell never stops ringing. The question is, are you showing up to class? Because those who succeed, those who rise above average, are the ones who walk in there every day with open eyes, an open mind, and a willingness to learn. And they don't treat growth like an event, they treat it like a lifestyle. They don't just learn when it's convenient, they learn when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, when it demands sacrifice. You don't need a classroom to be educated. You don't need a teacher in front of you. You don't need a degree to validate your knowledge. You just need hunger. Hunger to learn, hunger to understand, hunger to grow. Life is not interested in your excuses, and success doesn't care about your background. Life is interested in your commitment to improve. Every interaction, every moment, every obstacle is all part of the curriculum. Most people miss this. They think education ends when school ends. But real education begins the moment you decide that you will never stop learning. You can learn from success, and you can learn from failure. You can learn from failure. You can learn from your wins, and you can learn even more from your losses. Life teaches in silence and in storm. You can learn from conversations, from silence, from being around people who challenge your thinking, who force you to level up, who push you beyond your comfort zone. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who evolve is how they interpret the lesson. Some people get bitter, others get better. The ones who rise understand that every moment is a lesson wrapped in experience. You got to start looking at your day as a series of opportunity to level up. The way you handle pressure, that's a lesson. The way you bounce back after rejection, that's a lesson. The way you push through the days you don't feel motivated, when you feel tired, when your energy is low but your vision is still alive, that's a lesson. Most people overlook these. They see struggles as punishment instead of preparation. But those who grow see struggles as the textbook. They understand that the fire isn't there to burn them. It's there to build them. You present yourself to become a student of everything, a student of discipline, a student of time, a student of time, a student of pain, a student of patience, a student of patience, a student of people. Because when you become a student of life, you start extracting wisdom from places other people overlook. The more you learn, the more equipped you are to handle life's challenges. The more you understand yourself, the more powerful you become. And the best part is, life doesn't charge tuition for the lessons, but it will charge you everything if you don't learn them. Your mindset must be locked in every day. You wake up, and before you scroll, before you talk, before you react, you ask yourself, what can I learn today? Who can I learn from? What part of myself needs sharpening? That's how real growth happens. Not through passive inspiration, but through active education. You start studying yourself like an athlete studies game footage. You reflect, you adjust, you execute better tomorrow than you did today. That's the difference between someone who survives and someone who dominates. The classroom of life is not comfortable. There are no desks, no easy grades, no multiple choice, just consequences, just pressure, just reality. But that's where the greatest lessons live. In the struggle, in the grind. You might not have the background, the support, or the resources that others do. But what you do have is drive. What you do have is control over your time, your focus, your decisions. Use that, own that. Learn something new every single day. Add tools to your toolbox, stack wisdom, stack perspective, stack skills, and watch how your life starts shifting. The problem is not that you don't have access to knowledge. The problem is you haven't prioritized it. You got energy for gossip, for entertainment, for comfort, but not for personal growth. That has to change. Your mindset has to evolve to the point where learning becomes part of your identity, where reading, listening, studying, reflecting, that's just what you do. Not for the likes, not for validation, but because your mission demands it. You have to look at self-education as your edge, your secret weapon. The way you separate yourself from the average, from the mediocre, from the ones who keep saying it someday. Time is your most valuable currency, and how you spend it determines the kind of future you're building. If you got time to scroll aimlessly through your feed, you got time to learn something that could change your life. If you've got time to binge watch shows for hours, you've got time to invest in your goals, your mindset, your skills. It's not about whether you have time. It's about how you prioritize it. Too many people waste their minutes and wonder why they're stuck. The truth is, your results are hiding in your daily habits. What you choose to do with your time, especially when no one's watching, says everything about how serious you are about your growth. We've been conditioned to value comfort over progress. We fill every quiet moment with distraction. The minute we get bored, we grab our phones. The second something gets difficult, we switch to something easier. But real learning, real elevation only happens when you stop numbing yourself with entertainment and start feeding yourself with knowledge. The people who rise, who stand out, who break through, they aren't more talented. They're more disciplined with their time. They don't wait for motivation. They build routines that prioritize growth. They understand that every hour counts. Every moment is a seed. And if you keep planting garbage, don't be surprised when your life doesn't produce greatness. There's a war going on every day for your attention. Social media, TV notifications, gossip, negativity. It's all of it fighting to keep you distracted. But you have the power to choose. You have the ability to silence the noise and dial into what matters. You can take control of your schedule and say, this block of time is for me, my growth, my learning, my goals. Because nobody is going to hand you success. You got to earn it by trading in your wasted time for intentional development. And it's not about making massive changes overnight. It's about making small, consistent decisions. 15 minutes a day reading a book. 30 minutes listening to a podcast that stretches your thinking. An hour practicing a skill that pays dividends down the road. That's how transformation begins. By choosing growth over comfort, one moment at a time. People talk about not having enough time like it's a valid excuse. But the same 24 hours that built empires, wrote bestsellers, trained champions, that same 24 is what you got. It's not the hours you have. It's what you do with them. It's waking up earlier instead of hitting snooze. It's cutting down on mindless content and replacing it with meaningful learning. It's turning your car into a mobile classroom. It's using breaks to journal, reflect, and realign. You don't need more time. You need more time. You need more intention. Start tracking where your time really goes. Be honest with yourself. How much of your day is spent on things that truly move you forward? How much is spent escaping, avoiding, procrastinating? Once you get real about that, you'll start to see just how much opportunity you've been giving away. Time is like money. Waste enough of it and you end up broke, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But invest it wisely and it compounds. 1 hour of learning today could save you years of struggle tomorrow. One decision to grow today could shift the entire trajectory of your life. Discipline is the bridge between potential and progress. It's what turns average days into extraordinary ones. And discipline isn't built on how you feel. It's built on what you value. If you value growth, you'll find time for it. If you value success, you'll create space for learning. If you value your future, you'll stop letting your present be ruled by distractions. Every time you say, I don't have time, what you're really saying is, it's not a priority. And that's okay, as long as you're honest. But understand that your time is your life. And the way you spend it is either building the future you want or delaying it. The choice is always in your hands. The real battle is not out there. It's not with the competition. It's not with your coworkers, your classmates, your friends, or your rivals. The real battle is internal. It's you versus you every single day. The version of you that wants to stay comfortable is fighting against the version of you that's ready to rise. The voice that wants to quit is clashing with the voice that says, keep going, and only one will win. Most people spend their energy comparing themselves to others, chasing validation, trying to outshine someone else, when the truth is they haven't even mastered themselves. They haven't even confronted their own habits, their own patterns, their own weaknesses. When you finally stop looking sideways and start looking inward, that's when the shift begins. You don't grow by beating someone else. You grow by outworking, outlearning, and outdisciplining the version of you from yesterday. You become powerful when you realize your only competition is the old you, the lazy you, the distracted you, the emotional you, the inconsistent you. You look in the mirror and say, that's the opponent. That's who I have to defeat today. This battle is daily. It doesn't go away after a motivational speech or a temporary burst of energy. You gotta wake up and choose to fight for your future every single morning. The hardest part isn't the hustle. The hardest part is silencing that inner voice that tries to convince you that average is enough. That inner voice that says, you've done enough. That voice that says, take the day off when you know you got more in you. Success doesn't come from occasional efforts. It comes from consistent war with your lower self. It's the relentless pursuit of your higher self. No matter how uncomfortable, how inconvenient, or how lonely that path gets, you can't cheat that. You can't skip that process, because everything you want is on the other side of discipline. And discipline is built in those moments when no one is watching, when no one's clapping, when it's just you, your work, and your reflection. It's not about being better than someone else. It's about being so dialed into your own pride, your own progress, your own mission. In comparison doesn't even tempt you anymore. You become obsessed with beating yesterday's standards. With growing your mindset, sharpening your focus, and building the habits that support the life you want. That mindset of you versus you frees you from excuses. Because now it's not about what someone else has. It's not about the opportunities they got or the advantages they were born into. It's about what you're willing to do with what you have. It's about taking ownership of your time, your energy, your growth. And every day you make that choice, you gain momentum. You build confidence. Not the fake kind that comes from compliments, but the real kind that comes from discipline, from showing up, from doing the hard things over and over until they become second nature. The old version of you is always lurking, waiting for you to get tired, waiting for you to let your guard down, waiting for you to relax. That's why self-awareness is everything. You have to catch yourself in real time. Catch the bad habits before they take root. Catch the excuses before they become your truth. Catch the emotional responses before they wreck your progress. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you win a small battle. And those small victories, they add up. They build resilience. They create the mental toughness required to break through the limits that used to hold you back. And no one else can fight this battle for you. No coach, no mentor, no friend, no family member. This is your war, your climb, your test. And the reward is transformation. The reward is peace. The reward is walking into rooms with quiet confidence, knowing you didn't just talk about growth, you lived it. You didn't just want it, you worked for it. You didn't just win, you became. It's all because you chose every day to beat the old you and build the new one with discipline, focus, and unwavering commitment. There are a lot of people walking around with big dreams and bold visions, but the problem is their mindset isn't strong enough to carry the weight of those goals. They've got talent, they've got passion, they've even got ambition, but their thinking is small, outdated, or scattered. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't just about effort, it's about evolution. If your mind doesn't grow, your life won't either. You got to level up mentally before anything physical ever changes. That means feeding your brain, sharpening your understanding, challenging your beliefs, and constantly upgrading the way you think. Because your vision demands a version of you that's more informed, more disciplined, more focused, and more resilient than the one you are right now. Knowledge is the fuel behind every great achievement. You can't expect to build a business, lead a team, or transform your life while thinking the same way you did 5 years ago. Growth requires expansion. It requires exposure to new ideas, new strategies, new ways of thinking. That's why educating yourself isn't a luxury. It's a responsibility. If you're serious about your dreams, then you've got to be just as serious about equipping yourself with the information and wisdom to make those dreams possible. That doesn't mean you have to know everything. You know everything. But it does mean you need to know more today than you did yesterday. It means you're constantly curious, constantly seeking, constantly improving. When your knowledge expands, your confidence grows. Not the loud, fake confidence that comes from hype, but the kind of quiet, grounded belief that comes from confidence. The kind of belief that says, I've studied this, I understand this, I'm ready for this. And when you move like that, people notice. You walk differently, you speak differently, you make decisions with clarity and purpose. That's the power of being educated in your field. Your passion, your purpose. It builds a foundation that can't be shaken by pressure or criticism. You've got to stop trying to rely on motivation alone. Motivation fades. But when you built up real knowledge, when you've taken the time to study your craft, to learn from those ahead of you, to understand how things really work, that becomes your anchor. That becomes your advantage. Because now you're not just working hard, you're working smart. You're making better moves, faster decisions, and fewer mistakes. That's what separates those who dream from those who actually execute. Dreams without knowledge are just wishful thinking. But when your knowledge supports your vision, now you've got something dangerous. Now you've got something dangerous. Now you got something real. You also have to understand that knowledge protects you. It protects you from manipulation, from bad decisions, from wasting time and energy. When you know better, you do better. When you understand finances, you stop spending recklessly. When you understand business, you stop chasing shortcuts. When you understand yourself, you stop repeating the same patterns. Knowledge gives you vision, and vision gives you power. Power to move differently, power to lead, power to build, power to rise above the noise and distraction. Most people settle not because they lack ability, but because they lack understanding. They don't know what's possible. They don't know the steps. They don't know the strategies. Instead of learning, they just keep repeating what's familiar. But the ones who grow, the ones who evolve, are the ones who say, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. They stay hungry for truth. They stay open to correction. They never let ego block their progress because they know that their future depends on their mindset. And their mindset is shaped by what they feed it. So if your vision is big, your mindset has to be bigger. You've got to read, listen, observe, question, reflect. You got to surround yourself with people who think on a higher level. You've got to upgrade the books you read, the conversations you entertain, the content you consume. You got to make learning a non-negotiable, because the version of you that can handle everything you're asking for, the success, the wealth, the leadership, the influence is hidden behind layers of wisdom you haven't uncovered yet. You can't afford to be satisfied. You can't afford to look around, see a little progress, and think the job is done. Growth is not something you do once, it's something you live. Staying hungry, staying committed to learning, staying obsessed with your own development. That's how you separate yourself from everyone else who stops the moment it gets comfortable. When you're truly locked in, the journey never ends. You're always looking for ways to improve, ways to sharpen your mind, strengthen your discipline, stretch your capacity. You don't chase perfection, you chase better. Every day, every moment, every decision. You wake up with a mindset that there's more to learn, more to do, more to become. There's a reason the greats never stop. It's not because they need more money or more trophies. It's because they understand that evolution is a lifelong process. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop living with purpose. If you're not growing, you're regressing. There's no neutral. There's no standing still in a world that's constantly moving forward. So if you're not intentionally feeding your mind, you're falling behind. That hunger, that internal drive to keep learning, to keep asking questions, to keep stretching your thinking. That's what keeps you alive mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Staying hungry means staying humble. You don't assume you know everything. You don't pretend to have it all figured out. You recognize that no matter how far you've come, there's still more to master, more wisdom to gain, more insight to unlock. The people who stop learning are the ones who think they've arrived. And the moment you think you've arrived, you begin the slow decline into mediocrity. Hunger keeps you grounded. It keeps you alert. It reminds you that every level you reach was once a dream. But now that you're here, it's just the starting point for the next level. Easy to get distracted by success. It's easy to let comfort creep in. But comfort is a trap. It convinces you that progress is optional, that learning is negotiable, that growth can wait. And while you're relaxing, someone else is studying. Someone else is pushing. Someone else is getting sharper. That's why the hunger to learn has to be part of your identity, not just your strategy. It can't be a temporary hustle. It has to be who you are. A student of life, a seeker of truth, someone who refuses to settle. There's always something to learn from every experience, from failure, from rejection, from victory, from silence, from pain, from people you admire and people you can't stand. Every situation is trying to teach you something. And if you stay hungry, you'll catch it. You'll pick up on the lessons others overlook. You'll gain the kind of wisdom that can't be found in textbooks. You'll develop the kind of instincts that only come from constantly paying attention, constantly reflecting, constantly asking, what can I learn from this? Real growth doesn't always look exciting. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it happens in the moments when no one is watching, when you're reading late at night while everyone else is out, when you're journaling instead of scrolling, when you're rewatching a lecture, rewriting your goals, revisiting your failures. That's when you separate yourself. That's when you separate yourself. That's when you gain the kind of edge that can't be replicated. Because while others are relying on talent or motivation, you're relying on discipline and education. And that's a formula that doesn't fade. There's a different energy in someone who is constantly growing. You can feel it when they talk. You can see it in their focus, in their decisions, in the way they carry themselves. They don't need to brag. Their mindset speaks for itself. They become a force, a presence. Because they fed their minds so consistently that their thinking has evolved past the average. They're not driven by trends. They're driven by purpose. And that purpose is fueled by their daily commitment to becoming better than they were the day before. Hunger is their advantage. Learning is their weapon. Growth is their lifestyle. So now it's on you. Nobody can want it for you. Nobody can force you to grow. This journey, this grind, this transformation belongs to you. Every day you wake up, you've got a choice. Stay the same or rise. Settle or evolve. Be average or become unstoppable. And the difference between those who wish and those who win is simple. They made the decision to educate themselves every single day. Not just when it's easy, not just when it's popular. Every single day. Because when you stay hungry to learn, when you refuse to settle, when you sharpen your mind like your life depends on it, everything changes. Your habits change. Your results change. You change. So walk out of here with fire in your heart and focus in your mind. Study harder, learn deeper, grow stronger, and let the world feel the power of a mind that never stops evolving.